My name's Dylan Magaster, and this is my 1979 Morgan 38-2 named Ariane Rudd.
Welcome to another edition of Boat Tour Tuesday, where we take you on a tour of the boats we come across in our travels and introduce you to the cruisers that sail them. If you're enjoying this type of content, please give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment down below. In this episode, we're giving you a tour of YouTube star Dylan Magaster's 1979 Morgan sailboat. Morgan sailboats are known for their quality and strength, as shown by this 1979 sailboat that's still in service today. Dylan has owned this boat for over a year and is currently sailing it around through the Mediterranean. In this video, we're going to give you a tour of the boat and talk to Dylan about his experiences on the boat so far. So let's talk to Dylan and learn more about this 1979 Morgan sailboat.
About 13 months ago, I moved onto this sailboat, and about 6 months before that, I just kind of decided, I guess on a whim, that I wanted to become a sailor, that I just wanted to sail the Mediterranean. The way that my life has progressed so far as traveling goes, I've been traveling for 3.5 years now. I started with a backpack. After 6 months in a backpack, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go something bigger, but I'm not done traveling, so I went to a van. And then after about 2 years in the van, I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with the van, but I want something bigger, but I don't want to stop traveling. So it was like, well, I could go a bus or a boat. A boat sounds more fun. I went down Baja, Mexico, got scuba certified, sailed with you, and then took a 5-day course in Florida, and then went to Barcelona and bought this boat. So I had a total of like 6 days sailing experience. I've definitely learned a whole lot just jumping in head first without an experience. It's probably been more expensive than necessary, but I got a really good deal on the boat, so you know, it counters it out, maybe. Last year there was a lot of stress, a lot of spent money, but also a lot of things learned and a lot of good times. And you know, I'm very much a learn by doing. It's like, you know, you can practice theory all day, but until you get in the water and practice, you don't really know what you know. Definitely as time has gone on and I've fixed things on the boat and I've learned how to do things and how not to do things, it has for sure gotten easier. Less things have broken, less dumb mistakes have been made. And yeah, the boat has been like rigged up in better ways that are more functional, more practical for me, and are more safer, both for people on the boat as well as for the boat itself, so things don't break. But yeah, as I've learned, as time has gone on, I've become a more competent sailor, and things have gotten easier. When I moved onto the boat in May 6th of 2018, it was me, Tara, and Jackson, and I met both of them just online. I had put out a video asking for crew, and it was the three of us for 4 months, I think, and then Jackson left in August to go back and finish film school, finish his last year in university, and then it was me and Tara until June, and then she had to go back for a wedding, and so now I was single-handing just for like about a week. And then Bobby and Laura from Sailing Doodles are here, and then after they leave, my father will be here for a week, and then he'll leave, and then I'll have two friends come out for 2 weeks, and we'll go from Athens, which is where we're at now, to Turkey, and then one of those friends will leave, and then it'll be two of us to go up into the Black Sea. This boat is a 1979 Morgan 38-2 named Ariane Rudd, and I found this boat via Reddit. I wanted to sail. I knew nothing about sailing. I knew nothing about the legality of sailing, the bureaucracy, all that kind of stuff. And so I put on Reddit, like, this is my plan. I want to go to the Mediterranean in 4 months. I have no experience. I have no paperwork. I have no licenses. I don't have a boat. What do I need to do? And I got a few different replies, and one reply was like this real long one of like, oh, it's not that difficult. I started sailing with no experience in the Caribbean. You can learn as you go. It's not as hard as people make it out to be. This is like what you need this is technically what you need, but I've never been asked for these things. And so, yeah, I booked a school in Florida for 5 days, got certification. Yeah, got on a cruise ship, a transatlantic cruise ship in Miami to go to Barcelona, Spain. That gave us 14 days on the water to get over to Spain, which was nice. You don't have jet lag. It's a nice little vacation, good crew bonding time. And during that process, I still didn't have a boat lined up to buy. My thought was either arrive in Barcelona and find a boat there, or fly to Croatia or Greece and purchase a boat there. And about a week before we got to Barcelona, that guy that had given me a lot of good information, he was also like, hey, I'm selling my sailboat. I just moved onto a catamaran, and so this sailboat's good, it's seaworthy, it's been around the world once already. I sailed it across the Atlantic to the Mediterranean, but initially I kind of wrote that off as a scam because this was in February and he was asking 30 grand for it, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy a boat for 30 grand sight unseen 4 months before I need it. So I just stopped emailing him, and then about a month later he came back and was like, hey, how about 15,000? And I was like, all right, now we'll talk. About a week before we got to Barcelona, I was like, well, I don't have a survey, I haven't even seen it yet, all these kind of things. I was like, if you do 10,000 USD, I'll purchase it sight unseen, on your word that it's a good boat and that it's saleable and all this kind of stuff. And so he agreed to that, and I was like, all right, roger that, got a boat. So we arrived in Barcelona on May 6th, waited like 4 hours for him to get everything sorted, and then went over to the marina and got on the boat immediately. And there was a lot of things wrong with the boat, but it's way more cozy now and it's way more functional now. After that, we moved on May 6th, and then May 11th we did 111 miles to Mallorca. And we had all sorts of issues, mainly just engine issues, engine overheating, and that's mainly just because I didn't understand how engines work. That was a long process of figuring out it needs coolant. Basically is what it turned out to be. I bought this boat when I was 23. I'm 24, I'm almost 25 now. And as I've been sailing, I have met probably 3 sailors within, let's just say, 7 years of my age range. I think I'm probably the youngest sailor that I've met in these waters. Generally, if it's like younger people, they're like real budget sailors, but there's not very many. Most people I've met are in their 50s and above. There's a good portion in their late 30s and mid 40s. Most people are in their late 50s. Most people don't cruise full time though. So if you're wanting to get into cruising full time, I would recommend definitely take a sailing course. It's really helpful at least to know the basics. In that sailing course also we experienced like 16, 17 knots of wind, which isn't heavy weather, but when you're in a 34-foot boat and you've never sailed before, it's like, oh, this is a little bit intense. You got like 3, maybe 4 foot waves, and just experiencing that, then first time experiencing 6, 7 foot waves, it's like, damn, that's a big wave, but it's also like, okay, it's not your first time ever experiencing a wave. I would also recommend getting a survey done on the boat initially, and then understanding engine maintenance is very important. Other than that, everything else is pretty much like learn as you go. Read a lot of books. This book, The Elements of Seamanship, is a really great starter for how to become a sailor, like what you need to know. It's really basic, straightforward, really helpful. There's a lot of good books on sailing out there that give you good information. A basic understanding of weather is really important, and then just the ability to think on your feet and stay calm in intense situations. If you're somebody that panics in stressful situations, you need to figure out how to get that under control before you can start cruising. Because if you're in a situation in which you don't make the correct moves to keep your boat from being wrecked on the shore, in the water, something breaking, and you're in charge and you panic, then it's going to end very badly. The way I'm able to do this full time is I run a YouTube channel for a living. It focuses on alternative living spaces, people that live in tiny houses, tree houses, vans, buses, boats, domes, anything alternative that isn't your standard conventional cookie cutter house pretty much is what we film. We make short documentaries on that. During the first year of sailing, we also made like a sailing series that did all right, and that's also on the channel. But right now we're just focusing on the alternative living spaces, and there's a possibility of ramping up a sailing channel in the future, but it would probably be a different channel. But that is Florb. Floating Oar Productions is the company that I started. A relatively common thing that people say when they find out that I'm a young person cruising is that I'm a trust fund kid. Definitely not a trust fund kid. When I bought my van, I was $17,000 in debt, all on credit cards. Started the YouTube channel, was able to pay that off, and then was able to purchase the boat. And so I think people use that as, one, an excuse so that they don't have to do anything difficult. Don't like fall into that mindset of thinking like only rich people can do this, like only people that get money from their parents can do this, only people, inheritance, whatever. It's not that. It's like anybody can do this if they want to do it. You can do anything that you want if you want to do it. You just have to sort out your priorities and figure out how to do it. Maybe you'll be able to do it in 6 months. Maybe it'll take you 3 years. Maybe it'll take you 5 years, but it's definitely possible to do whatever you want to do. You just have to figure out what it is you want to do and then sort out the priorities and figure out how to do it. But it's definitely possible.
All right, Dylan, thanks for having us on here.
Absolutely.
So why don't we kind of go over your boat and show you can show us all the cool stuff you have on here and the stuff you've done and added and all that. So we can start here. What do you got up here?
After that, we are on anchor right now, so our anchor's in the sand. We have a 22 kilogram Rokna anchor with 200 feet of anchor chain, a windlass, works great. Secondary anchor, I used it once on my dinghy because I didn't have a dinghy anchor, but it's like 30 pounds, 35 pounds. Anchor bridle.
And so did you have both sail? You had your Genoa and what, like a stay sail, a cutter sail, or what?
Yeah, so this is a modified cutter rig, like a standard Morgan 38.2 is just a sloop. Not the previous owner, the owner before that, they added this stay, and you can't sail both at the same time, but it allows you to have both a Genoa and a jib, or a storm jib if you change that out. It did come with 2 sails. I shredded the Genoa and the Strait of Bonifacio in Italy. Made a video on that, and yeah, got this one in Croatia. It's a great sail. It's pretty heavy, and so I can sail under full sail, like with the Genoa and the full main at like 16 knots with this, because it's nice and heavy and it's all good. When we're beating windward, we sail better with this. Unless it's super light wind, then I'll use the Genoa. If we're running with the wind, I'll do wing on wing with both the head sails. That's really nice because then you can just furl them in, pull out the Genoa if we need to.
So coming up here, you got a lot of stuff stored here. What do you got going on here?
Yeah, so we got one hatch that goes into the forecastle. Up here, like this is like the business section of the boat. On the shrouds, we have 2 kayaks, Oru kayaks. They're foldable kayaks. Those are really cool. We got a bunch of jerry cans. There's like one that does not belong, and that one's petrol. All the other ones are diesel, so it's like 40 gallons of diesel, 5 gallons of petrol, plus the dinghy tank. And then on the port side, we've got the chimney for the cubic mini wood stove. And other than that, it's just all the running rigging that you need for the mainsail and halyards and everything you need. The whisker pole I store right here. There's still, there's always things that need to be fixed, touched up, and adjusted, repaired. And then I've got the passerelle here, which is just basically like a 2x8.
Yeah, most people in the States maybe not even familiar with what a passerelle is because you don't, here it's med mooring, and so that's pretty much how you get on and off the boat is with a passerelle. It's just like a little plank that goes between your dock and the boat because there are no fingers on Mediterranean docks.
Yeah, there's too many boats. Yeah. And unless you're in a place where there's not many boats, you're going to med moor. Yeah. Maybe you'll be able to go alongside. That's always great. If I can go alongside and not have to med moor, I'll do that. But yeah, if you're med mooring, you're getting on and off the boat from the stern. Or if you're bows to, then you're getting off the bow. But then you have to have a plank to walk across.
You walk the plank every day.
Yep.
All right, let's move aft then.
When I bought the boat, it came with the jerry cans. The Mediterranean, it's not near as important, but I use them frequently. Because if you go inland, just like 2 streets, you can get 10, 15 cents off a diesel. And whenever you're talking for this boat, I can store a total of 85 gallons. That ends up being a lot because we're talking 10, 15 cents per liter. So that ends up being almost 50 cents a gallon.
Right. Okay, and then you have your life raft here?
Yeah, life raft also came with the boat. Hatch into the cabin, broken scoop, air scoop, recently broken throwable.
Well, that might have been our fault. Sorry about that.
It happens. It's 4th time broken. It's not unusual for it to be laying right there.
Okay. All right, well, let's check out the cockpit. All right, and then coming back into the cockpit here.
Yeah, so this is cockpit. It's a really safe cockpit. Came with the Dodger and the Bimini. Bimini eventually needs to be replaced. It's been repaired a lot of times. Thank you, Tara, for doing all the sewing for that. But when you're sailing, I mean, you're in here. There's like 0 chance of you falling out. The only time you have potential chance of going overboard is if you're up on deck. Other than that, if you're in here, it's like you're gonna hit the...
Yeah, you'd be trapped in it.
Yeah, it's nice. But that makes it a pain when you're like Medmore trying to get on and off the boat and moving around. But on the back here, we've got the Dinghy Davits. I installed those in Spain and then readjusted them because they broke in France and then reinforced them in Croatia. Got just a rib here, came with the boat. 9.9 Yamaha. Originally came with a 15 horsepower Yamaha, lost that when it broke the davits and doing a passage in France with the Mistral. That was intense.
Yeah.
That's somewhere 4,300 feet below the surface.
Not south.
But this one is 9.9, it works good enough. Propane, standard, camping gas, that's what they use in the Mediterranean. Sorts of different throwables. 3 different throwables back here right now. The stuff that you would normally have in a cockpit, autopilot, depth gauge. This is the windlass control, doesn't work. Wind gauge is over there, doesn't work. And then there's a knot meter over there, and I mean, it's a knot meter, so it's like half useless.
Well, I noticed that. So you normally, for your wind direction, you're looking up at the wind generator.
Yeah, I've got a wind generator up here, and that's always pointing into the wind. And so, one of the nice things about having everything broken is you like learn how to sail without any assistance.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a lot of looking at the flag, looking at the wind generator, just feeling it on your face.
And knowing what the wind looks like, or the water looks like in certain wind conditions.
Right, looking at the ripples on the water.
Yeah.
A lot of that. And then on top of the Bimini, we've got a 300 watt polycrystalline solar panel. And then that's 200 watt wind generator.
With your 200 watts and your, how much you say, 300 watt, is that enough where you don't have to run the motor every day for power for your batteries if you're not working on the computer?
Yeah, well, in the summer, the freezer ends up taking a lot of energy.
Right.
So, like, we could go for like maybe 3 days if we're all topped off, if we weren't running anything else to run the fridge and the freezer. But then after that, you're gonna have to start running the engine again.
All right, let's move forward here. And you got winches. I guess you got 2 sets of winches on each side.
Yeah, winch here. This is always running the sheet, Genoa or jib sheet, Genoa sheet, jib sheet, furling line, jib Genoa. Furling line always goes on the smaller one, and then the sheet goes on the aft one. That primary winch never gets used. I've literally never used it. Then this one here is for the main sheet. It's got a clutch in front of it, and then this one is like 50% broken. I did get it, so it was seized up for a while, so it does spin, but it's also like, yeah, still broken. And then this one runs the sheets on this side. We have a fishing pole, which is half broken as well. Most of the things are like half broken, but everything works enough. That's pretty much it. Just a relatively standard cockpit.
Okay, all right.
A bit more cozy.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's actually, I mean, like, first thing I did, because this was almost the exact same size as my first boat, and it's, I mean, very reminiscent of that. It reminds me a lot of it. So,
yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go down into the Salon, because that reminds me of that too.
Cool.
All right, go ahead.
Welcome to the interior of Ariane Rudd.
So we'll get to the galley in a minute, but this is kind of the main salon area.
This is the main salon. We installed a cubic mini wood stove, really nice in the winter. We did a winter in Croatia, which was cold and intense. like Croatia's pretty intense in the winter, and so that was really nice to have, to be able to, after like you get soaked all sail and then you come down and be able to warm up and dry out the whole cockpit, not having everything wet all the time is really nice. And you can like boil water in a cup on top of it as well, and then stored underneath there we've got wood, but it's great. Cubic Mini, it was designed by a sailor, and yeah, it works great on sailboats.
That's the first time I've seen a wood burning heater in a sailboat, but it uses like the compressed pellets, kind of like.
Yeah, I've been using compressed pellets. You can always just gather wood from the shore. If you get wood with salt or moisture in it, you just have to clean the chimney more frequent, but cleaning the chimney takes literally like 5 minutes. But it's great because that adds like a whole another element and atmosphere in the winter, because like if you're doing full time, the winter, I mean, it's dark because like that's literally dark most of the time.
Right, yeah.
But it's also cold, and so having a fireplace, you know, as the cabin in the woods feel, and like definitely boosts morale and just all the good things to be able to sit by an actual fire.
Right, that is pretty cool. So then we've been sleeping here. This converts down into a full bed here.
Right. Storage, bookshelf. Never used the monitor. I installed it up like that, but haven't used it yet. And then it being next to the heater probably isn't a good idea. This is my wall of shame, like wall of lessons, really. This was on the port side. Cleat, this is the first time I ever wrapped a propeller. It tore the cleat right off the cockpit coaming. And then this represents the engine that was so unnecessarily replaced in Croatia, because I broke the gearbox, so that's a piece of the engine.
So over here is just another couch, and then you got storage behind there. And actually you said that could be another berth.
Yeah, this is technically another berth. It's all storage right now. We've got a spinnaker sail and all sorts of camera gear and stuff. And then this is a berth. It's got one of these, like, stays or whatever it's called. And then the water tanks under there. We've got 60 gallons of water.
Well, and you said you wrapped this.
Yeah, we wrapped this blanket around the mast in the winter time because it's aluminum, and so in the winter it acts as a cold bridge. So you're walking and you bump into it and it's shockingly cold. And so adding this, it's like, yeah, if you were to lean on it you would get cold, but it significant, and also it warms up the whole space because it's not sapping energy up into the mast.
All right, well, let's head over into the galley. And this galley is pretty much just like I had on the rough seas as well. What have you got here?
Pretty standard galley, double sink. Stove, right now the stove only has one burner, been rocking that for over a year. My father is coming in like 4 days and he's bringing me another burner. Can only find it in the States, haven't been able to find it in Europe. So I'll finally have 2 burners, that'll be great. It's also got an oven. We did the oven once. I don't remember what we made, but then it was like we were out of propane in like 3 days instead of a month.
Yeah.
And then I added this little lip here, which provides the ability to actually have things up there, because otherwise everything's always falling in here. Storage. The oven's storage. This is the fridge freezer situation. Fridge freezer. I did the mosaic. That was all out of tiles that I got for free in Pula, Croatia. I've never figured out like a better way to do trash than just hang it right here.
Yeah, that's what we did.
They don't really like plan for trash in a sailboat.
I know.
I don't understand why they don't, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
And how about we show off your fancy...
the new engine. This is the brand new Beta Marine 38 horsepower engine. It runs like a charm.
Yeah, it's a really pretty engine.
It's a great engine. It's like 60 kilograms lighter than the Yanmar. It's insanely more quiet, and the vibration on the boat is significantly less. Running the Yanmar was like knocking your head against the wall. It was like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But it produces more power, both in electricity and in propulsion. So we can cruise at like 7 knots in a dead calm, which is nice.
Yeah. It's fast for a boat this size.
Yeah, and it burns a little less than a gallon an hour. This Beta Marine engine is also significantly easier to maintain. Everything can be accessed from the front, but with the Yanmar you had to like climb through the quarter berth, and it was a pain in the ass. It was a much bigger engine, so you didn't have room to move wrenches and all that kind of stuff. Much easier to maintain. This is quarter berth chart table, control panel. We store the The fender's in the quarter berth most of the time. The fan doesn't work in the quarter berth, so it makes it like unbearable in the summer. This is where I do editing, everything. Control panel, standard light. Tara made these curtains, which are great. They add another nice homey feel to the boat. It like half of this boat feels like grandma's house, and we've really like leaned into the 1979 aesthetic.
Right.
Besides all the camera gear, store camera gear in front of the nav table. There's storage underneath here.
Well, let's go. So how many what battery power? How much does it have?
The batteries are actually in the Salon underneath the cushions, and it's 750 amp hour flooded lead acid.
All right, I guess we'll do, it's kind of tight up there, so we're just going to do a pano of the bathroom and the forward, I guess the V berth up there.
The boat only has a single yet fairly large head. It has a vanity mirror, toilet, and even a stand-up shower. Forward, there's a V-berth that sleeps too, although when the weather's good, Dylan normally sleeps either in the cockpit or down in the salon.
All right, Dylan, sir, thank you for having us, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dylan.
It's been a pleasure. You have a great boat, and we'll be linking to your YouTube channel, so if you want to see some of the stuff, it's probably popping up now.
Perfect.
Well, we'll see you
Come
again
check
soon.
it out.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you again sometime soon.
We had a lot of fun this week.
Yeah.
We went to some awesome places.
Yep.
Lots of good sails there.
Great to have you guys out. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for being like my first sailing experience.
No problem.
Glad to do it. Glad to do
The
it.
White Squall.
There we go. White Squall.
Like
So,
1 year later.
1 year later.
Like our
Oh,
anniversary.
well, a year and a half.
Post-February, I guess.
Anyway. All right. Well, cool.
Peace.